Welcome to Tritiyo Matra. Today we have with us the High Commissioner of Pakistan, Islamic Republic of Pakistan to Bangladesh, Mr. Imran Ahmed Siddiqui. Mr. Siddiqui has served as desk officer in China, director at United Nations and director Human Rights and United Nations Security Council at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and joint secretary to the National Security Advisor at National Security Division. Mr. Siddiqui also served as Pakistan's expert at the Permanent Mission of Pakistan to the United Nations, New York, and later as Deputy Permanent Representative to the Jeddah-based Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC), as well as the Deputy Consul General at the Consulate General of Pakistan, Jeddah. Today we will be talking about the bilateral relations between and disputes between both countries, and also the barriers and future possibilities. Mr. High Commissioner, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum to you and to your viewers. Thank you for having me.
How has been your experience so far working as a diplomat in Bangladesh?
Oh, it has been very wonderful, very good, excellent, I would say. Wherever I go, I am treated with special love and affection and respect by the Bangladeshi people. I can assure you that in Pakistan, we also view Bangladesh with similar sentiments, and the feeling is mutual. The goodwill for Pakistan in Bangladesh is the most valuable and most precious asset of Pakistan in Bangladesh. Similarly, the goodwill for the people of Bangladesh and the leadership of Bangladesh in Pakistan should be the most important asset of Bangladesh in Pakistan.
So what is the common perspective of Pakistani people regarding Bangladesh? How do the people of Pakistan view the 1971 war and the subsequent 50 years?
Pakistan views Bangladesh not only as a friendly country, but also a fraternal and brotherly country. We think that Bangladesh is a partner in our common efforts to strengthen the voice of the Islamic world in international affairs. We share history, faith and culture. Basically, this relationship is etched very deep in our hearts. The people of Bangladesh are very close to our hearts. Whatever happens here, we closely follow it, and we admire whatever you have achieved in the last 50 years. There is a lot that we can learn from you, and there is a lot that we can offer to Bangladesh. So this relationship is a mutually beneficial relationship, and there is a huge potential that has to be exploited. As far as the events of 1971 are concerned, I mean, that was the most tragic chapter of our common history. No one is very proud of it. There can be no justification. There were misunderstandings, there were miscalculations which were exploited by the internal and external forces, and that led to that tragedy. But we think that the younger generation has a strong desire to connect, and I see that desire every day in Bangladesh, and I receive a number of messages from Pakistan also. There is a strong desire among our younger generation to connect with their counterparts in Bangladesh. They are more objective, they want to move forward, and this you see in action among diaspora, the way they are connected, the way they are making progress, and they are upholding common issues in their host communities, negotiating for their rights together. So that shows the strength these two communities have acquired by supporting each other. So this is what future is. So we have to work further to realize all this potential for the good of our two countries.
Mr. Siddiqui, what is the current trajectory of bilateral relations between Pakistan and Bangladesh?
You see, as far as bilateral relations between two countries are concerned, they are never friction free. Even the closest states, they have some problems. We have challenges. I will not deny this, that we have challenges in our relationship, but there is commitment. I was able to call on the Prime Minister twice, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, and I think that she was very committed to allowing us to work freely in this country. She had goodwill for people of Pakistan, for the leadership of Pakistan, which she conveyed in so very clear terms through me to them. And similarly, when I had called on the President and the Prime Minister of Pakistan, they had conveyed their good wishes, and They asked the diplomats in Bangladesh to do whatever is possible to promote our bilateral relationship. So there is a huge potential that we have to work together to realize. Foundation is already there. Sky is the limit as far as collaboration and benefits are concerned, because this potential has never been exploited fully. So we can work together. I see partnership, on the other side also. So I am quite optimistic that things are moving forward, although slow, but they are moving forward. They will reach their destination very, very soon, inshallah, which will result in greater collaboration, frequent exchanges of visits, and freer interaction between the two peoples.
As Bangladesh is graduating from LDC status, there seems to be renewed interest in revitalizing the level of trade and investment between Bangladesh and Pakistan. Is there any potential for strengthening trade relations between Pakistan and Bangladesh? Is a free trade agreement on the table?
Challenges notwithstanding, as far as trade is concerned, our relationship is quite progressive. This year, in the first 11 years of this financial year, we reached the mark of $950 million. So, inclusive the month of June. We do not have figures right now, but we can cross $1 billion mark this year, which is unprecedented. So the bilateral trade is progressing, but there are challenges. As I said, trade grows when you allow the business communities to interact freely and openly. There are business councils, there are joint economic commission, which is meeting frequently, etc. This is not happening. There are restrictions on the movement of people from Pakistan to Bangladesh. That we, as far as Pakistan is concerned, we have removed all restrictions on the visa applicants from Bangladesh, but there are restrictions on Pakistanis who are applying for Bangladeshi visas. So if these things are addressed and there are frequent exchanges between the business communities of the two countries, trade will also grow further. As far as FTA is concerned, several years ago, there were discussions on FTA, but now trade is quite good, and if it reaches a 1 billion mark, there is a possibility that can restart our discussions on FTA. But for that to happen, we have to call first the JEC, Joint Economic Commission meeting, and discuss all other outstanding issues. So there is a possibility. Pakistan is a huge market. Bangladesh should explore that market. Some Bangladeshi companies are going out and investing in other countries. Pakistan offers a good situation for that also, with CPEC and other things, which we can discuss later on if you have any specific question about it. The opportunities that China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is offering, some pharmaceuticals can go and invest in Pakistan. Pakistani companies have invested in Bangladesh. At one time, Pakistan was number 3 among foreign investors in Bangladesh. And if there are freer, no restrictions on the movement and interaction between the business communities, there will be more investors who can come from Pakistan to invest in Bangladesh. So their opportunity is huge. We have to just do away with certain artificial barriers in order to fully exploit it.
Last year, Mr. High Commissioner, in a meeting with you, Pakistan President Dr. Arif Alvi said that the country wanted to improve commercial and cultural relations with Bangladesh. He also said, I quote, Pakistan highly values its ties with Bangladesh and wants to further expand cooperation by using the existing bilateral mechanisms, including political consultations at Foreign Secretary level and Joint Economic Commission, unquote. What is the progress on that after you met with Mr. President?
The President, the Prime Minister, the current leadership of Pakistan, they all are very committed to expanding and promoting relations with Bangladesh, first of all. There are certain dormant consultative mechanisms such as JEC, Joint Economic Commission, and bilateral political consultations mechanism, which is Foreign Secretary level consultations. There is a need to revive those mechanisms in order to discuss the impediments to a deeper relation between our two countries. We have exchanged dates for holding JEC, and we are waiting for the reaction from Bangladesh side. There is in principle agreement also between the two countries that to hold, bilateral political consultations, but we have to decide about the dates, the agenda, etc. So we are working on that. The progress, as I said, is slow. We should not expect exponential movement, you know, on this trajectory. But there is some movement, and positive movement, constructive movement. So I am quite hopeful that things will go further.
And what are the biggest obstacles to bilateral relations according to your experience?
And I will go back to your first question and my reply to it, that the most valuable and the most precious asset for Pakistan in Bangladesh is the goodwill of people of Bangladesh, and similarly the goodwill of people of and the government of Pakistan for Bangladesh. Now these people want to connect, but we are unable to promote people to people contact as we wish because there are visa restrictions. We have removed all visa restrictions unilaterally without waiting for
from Pakistan side.
Yes, from Pakistan side. Pakistan has removed all visa restrictions on Bangladeshi applicants. Now you can apply Pakistani visas in the comfort of your offices in your home online, and we are duty bound to give you visas if there is no problem in the papers in like 24 or 48 hours, and the visa rejection rate is almost zero.
Okay.
Almost zero. But there are restrictions. So the biggest challenge is to facilitate people to people contacts. There are joint families, not just one or two, but there are hundreds and thousands of joint families, and many new joint families have been made because of intermarriages in diaspora. So they want to visit Pakistan and Bangladesh, of course. I mean, they have relations on both sides. They are suffering because of that. Business community is suffering a lot because of that. There are huge, people have heavily invested in Bangladesh and their owners are not given visas. So how can they look after their investments in Bangladesh, and how can they persuade other people to invest in Bangladesh, although they want to? They want to invest in Bangladesh because of their relations with Bangladesh. There are several businessmen in Pakistan out of in addition to the commercial value of the investments, they have emotional attachment with the people of Bangladesh. They have lived here, their families have lived here, they have relatives over here. So these are the things, and this I find it one of the biggest challenges, that these restrictions are basically a biggest impediment to, you have to create an environment at a public level where there is a dialogue, there is interaction, there are cultural, contacts, intellectual contacts between the academics. You may have a narrative about history, but do you want to keep it to yourself, or do you want to discuss it with your counterparts in Pakistan? If the intellectuals have a narrative, they have to discuss this narrative with Pakistanis also. As a diplomat, my job is to listen to whatever you have to offer with full sympathy. At the same time, I have, speak about my narrative also, and see if there is sympathy for that narrative also. Because people have suffered, our common tragic history, and their families are living in Pakistan too. We have to fill that wedge. So how do we do that? We have to talk at all levels, not just the government level. Government always will come and will have a specific perspective. So that perspective is mellowed down and further contributed to by people like by the representative of intelligentsia, journalists, the artists, you see. So the young people, the students, etc. So unless they are allowed to freely interact, contact each other, talk to each other, it can never happen. So, and when there is a huge desire, our younger generation are more objective, and they will be more objective, as time passes on. So let them decide their fate themselves without creating artificial barriers. In any case, they are meeting, in a third country.
Mr. Imran Ahmed Siddiqui, there has always been a demand from the people of Bangladesh for the government of Pakistan to issue an official apology for the genocidal actions committed during the liberation war in 1971. Now certain progressive voices inside Pakistan are also lobbying for such an apology as a means to finally make meaningful diplomatic progress and allow bilateral relations to foster. Pakistan's government members have expressed their own regrets about the genocide committed by the Pakistani army in 1971. However, there has not been an official apology like the recent apology provided by Germany to Namibia. Are there any plans from the government of Pakistan to make such a diplomatic move?
See, this is an important question, and thank you very much you raised this question. I am asked this question by important people in this country also. I think that Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and then leadership of Pakistan was wise enough to establish the foundation of our bilateral relationship right after that tragedy in 1974. Yes. And when we raised this question about apology, which had been adequately addressed during the negotiations on that agreement of 1974, we are basically questioning the wisdom of our leadership and the leadership in Bangladesh. We should not do that. I think they were very wise. They knew that this bitterness which was created because of those events will continue to negatively impact upon our bilateral relationship. That's why they came together. They discussed it in detail, each and every aspect of it. You must have seen the agreement, Article 14, 15, 16. And if I quote from that, one of those articles, in the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, which is Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, had declared that he wanted the people to forget the past and to make a fresh start, stating that the people of Bangladesh knew how to forgive.
You are mentioning the agreement.
Agreement, yes.
Tripartite agreement.
Tripartite agreement, 1974. And this is his wisdom and foresight, that he wanted to start the process of reconciliation. And because of this, he also visited Pakistan during OIC, summit over there. And then, and then the Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, he visited Bangladesh on a bilateral visit. And after that, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was to go to Pakistan on a bilateral visit. So this was their foresight and wisdom that laid the ground for establishing a robust bilateral relationship between our two countries. And they understood the desire of the people as well as regional and international environment in which it was required that these two nations, these two fraternal nations which shared so much of history, and Pakistan came into being because of the activism of so many leaders from East Bengal at that time. So, and we duly recognize their contribution to the making of Pakistan. In Pakistan, we teach our younger generation about their contribution. So there was so much common. If they had left this issue festering at that time, I mean, the trajectory would have been quite different. But because of that agreement and their expressed approval of getting us together, the two nations together, led to many good things in the last 50 years between our two nations. And we want to go back on the track. That relationship got derailed in the last few years, so we have to bring it back on the track. The issue was adequately addressed by them. No one is saying that we completely forget about it. That will give us insight into our future affairs also. But at the same time, we have to move forward. This is the.
But this kind of things happen in many countries. As I mentioned, that Germany did these things to Namibia.
Yes, but we have done this in 1974, and after that, the other leaders who have visited, Pakistan's leader who have visited Bangladesh, they have done this too. So it had happened in 1974 when people of note in this country discussed it with me. They said that we cannot forget it. No one is asking to forget it. Pakistan also should not forget it. They keep in mind that whatever had happened and should not happen again anywhere in the world, and we should, as we were discussing before this program, we have to stand by with certain principles, and we have to follow through those principles. So no one is doing anything that is going against the spirit of the wisdom of our leaders. This is very important for the younger generation to understand the wisdom of our leadership at that time. We should not question their wisdom. We can discuss things, but within the bounds. And then we have to move forward. This was their vision, given to our respective nations. So we have to, implement that vision and come together, discuss things, whatever, upfront. As I said, I have full sympathy with the narrative of Bangladesh on many issues. I have my own narrative on certain and viewpoint on certain areas where we differ. And I will seek, with that sympathy, I will seek your sympathy also for my positions. We sit across the table and discuss it in detail. So the thing is this issue has been addressed and no one is asking to forget. It should not be used as an artificial barrier to keep us apart. This is my submission to the people.
Mr. High Commissioner, Bangladesh has been caught in the geopolitical rivalry between Pakistan and India from the very beginning. There is a general consensus among the intelligentsia of Bangladesh that Pakistan's agenda for Bangladesh is only limited to fueling its rivalry with India. Do you believe that increasing bilateral ties and fostering people-to-people relations can be possible if Pakistan continues to only look at Bangladesh from the lens of India?
It is not a fair assessment. We do not view our bilateral relations with any country from in relation to our relation with any third country, particularly with Bangladesh. It's an open secret in this country that this is the other way around. It is not Pakistan that is imposing visa embargoes on Bangladeshis if they interact with any third country. Everyone knows about it. Who is doing that? We do not stop the visa applicants and ask them that do you interact with any third country before we give them visas. We don't do that. This is happening with so many Bangladeshis over here. They keep telling me all the things about the way they are treated. So we do not view anyone, our bilateral relations particularly with Bangladesh, with the lens of, with the prism of any third country. Our relations have enough substance and merit to stand on their own. There is a lot of history, as I said, our common faith, the international situation, the regional situation, that brings us together. So I do not think that we are viewing our relations with Bangladesh through the lens of any third country. We are not obsessed by any third country. If you go through the discussions, internal political debates in Pakistan and otherwise, on politics, society and economics, I mean, the third country is never mentioned in our political debate, except in the context of foreign occupation of territories and people. It is never mentioned. But Pakistan is mentioned all the time. I mean, the obsession is somewhere else, not in Pakistan. And there is a strong willingness among Bangladeshi people. If you are not in Bangladesh, you cannot assess this. When you come to Bangladesh, then you interact with common Bangladeshi, then you understand this huge, basically, reservoir of goodwill for Pakistan. So why do we have to be insecure, about our bilateral relationship with Bangladesh? There is a lot that we can achieve without using any prism or lens. So I do not agree with that.
Currently, we are seeing an unprecedented level of investment from China in the South Asian region. Projects such as CPEC, as you mentioned earlier, Maritime Silk Route, and the broader Belt and Road Initiative may alleviate the current stagnation or in regional integration. However, there also seems to be significant risks involved in the form of rising debts through China. What are the ramifications of the increasing presence of China in the South Asia region in your view?
Pakistan has had a very strong relationship with China since our inception. We got stronger in the 60s and 70s, and since then we have never looked back. I was going through the book, the memoirs, Amar Dekha Naya Cheen by Bangladeshi Rahman. He has mentioned his visit to China as a minister in the East Pakistan, and the way they collaborated, particularly on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, and they got a very good resolution on that. So this relationship has been there since the beginning of our country, and since independence. And you see, this is stronger than ever. We consider China as a factor of stability in South Asia. We think that China is a reliable friend of the developing world. The developing world has benefited a lot from this relationship with China. As far as Pakistan is concerned, Pakistan is hosting the flagship project of BRI, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, that has contributed immensely in our economic development, in infrastructure development and otherwise. Regarding the motivated propaganda about the Chinese debt, which is not much. I mean, the challenges that economies are facing are related, I mean, current challenges are related to other factors also, which are more urgent nature, such as the pandemic, which is still continuing, and it has had quite a negative impact on the economies in the world. The wars in Europe, that has impacted upon the supply chain and created scarcity of commodities, rising interest rates, and that other economic challenges. which have their impact on the economies like ours. So that is a different thing. But as far as China is concerned, China is a strong factor in the stability of our region and international affairs. In Pakistan particularly, it has played a very positive role in supporting Pakistan's economy, in supporting our development strategies, our strategy to build a first-class infrastructure from Gwadar to Khunjerab and into China. So new openings have been created for the economy, and we are fully benefiting from that. And there are so many projects for future also, which will be implemented along CPAC. So I do not agree with this thing that these theories of debt trap and blaming China for that. We view China as an important country in the world that can, and our engagement, the engagement of the South Asian countries can bring more development, greater prosperity.
High Commissioner Mr. Imran Ahmed Siddiqui, the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine has divided the world, as we know, and the potential for a decoupling between China and USA seems to be high. There also appears to be an increase in militarization in the region, as we see military pacts such as Quad and AUKUS being formed, and the USA and its allies stating their interest in increasing their presence in the geopolitics of the South Asia region. Do you see the region being thrust into conflict in the near future? What effects will the region face if such a conflict were to occur?
You see, as far as bloc politics is concerned, history bears witness that it always creates tensions, sucks into the the countries which are not even involved in the conflicts into a broader confrontation. So we have been advocating more reliance on the principles of the United Nations Charter and multilateralism to resolve our issues, instead of going and making smaller groups, and which causes tensions between the groups of countries, and the countries which are not directly involved in any kind of confrontation are ultimately get sucked into it. So we have to avoid that. We have been asking for, as far as Ukraine crisis is concerned, we have been asking for diplomacy and dialogue, protection of the humanitarian, protection of the civilians, and addressing the humanitarian issues adequately. At the same time, understanding and respecting each other's strategic limitations. Only then we can resolve this issue permanently. Otherwise, going into the mode of bloc politics, we will increase tensions at a time when we need more cooperation. Because of this pandemic, the economic crisis it has generated, the world has not yet fully recovered. The pandemic has not yet gone. It is rising, it's raising its ugly heads again. So we don't know what will happen in future. Thus far it does not look very promising. So we have to come forward, to come together and find and make strategies which can comprehensively address these issues, instead of going our own way, talking in terms of isolating a single country or a group of country. That might not be helpful. So this has been our consistent position as a country which is in South Asia, which does not want any conflict, which wants to resolve its disputes with other countries in the region through dialogue and peaceful means. We cannot support any such approach. So this has been the position, and we advocate it very fully.
And what's your opinion on the current lack of a regional integration in the South Asia region? Do you agree with the general consensus that a substantial obstacle to regional integration is the ongoing rivalry between Pakistan and India?
That is quite sad, and it pains me to see that around 2 billion people living in South Asia, and we are around 25% of the total humanity, such huge potential, human resources, etc. And we cannot agree on a common position. We have been ardent supporter of SAARC, of regional integration, regional cooperation, regional collaboration. As I said, these organizations do not progress if the largest country in any regional grouping is not showing large-heartedness according to the weight and size. We see successful examples around our region, in ASEAN for example, and you see that that larger countries have made sacrifices, they have showed large-heartedness, they have come forward. We see another pattern in our region. The SAARC summit has to be held in Pakistan. It is being obstructed by one country. Now, unless these leaders get together and discuss things, how can we move forward? There are attempts to isolate one country in the region by making smaller blocks towards the east. So, with such an approach, can any regional organization progress? I don't think so. So, we have to show this quality of statesmanship and come forward, hold this summit, and all the associations and groupings of SAARC. There is a very useful platform for businesses. SEFTA, and they had concluded SEFTA, and it has produced some. They are not meeting. The business groups are not meeting. They have to meet. They have to discuss things. So isolating one country in order to meet some certain political objectives will destroy the regional groupings, as you mentioned. If we have to progress, we have to give equal weight to all the countries in the region. Instead of adopting strategies to isolate one country, we have to bring all the countries on board and show some large-heartedness towards each other, which we are not witnessing, unfortunately.
So you were talking about SAARC, and how do you see the role of a regional cooperation forum like BIMSTEC?
If SAARC is robust and doing whatever it can do, it can easily be connected with BIMSTEC. And there is a huge market starting from Afghanistan and Central Asia to Southeast Asia. So, but the countries will have to change their attitudes toward regional cooperation, larger countries particularly.
As you were talking about that recently Islamabad has lifted all restrictions on visas for Bangladeshi citizens, how has this diplomatic icebreaker fared so far in promoting bilateral relations?
We see increase in the traffic towards Pakistan, which is a good thing. But again, several other ingredients have to be in place in order to give some substance to this relationship. This has to be a two-way traffic, so that people can come from Pakistan to Bangladesh also. Now there is because of social media also and this connection, there is an expanded dialogue, which is a good thing. But as I said, the progress is slow. We can expedite it by removing all artificial barriers.
Aside from a shared religious statement, there is a wide diversity in culture between Bangladesh and Pakistan. Are there any plans to increase cultural exchange programs from the government of Pakistan?
Yes, there can be. I mean, we have had this cultural cooperation agreement which has to be renewed. We have offered Bangladesh to renew it with a number of new projects. As you said, there is so many commonalities in our culture also. This music we share, the love for music we share. Coke Studio is a huge success in Pakistani Coke Studio is huge success in Bangladesh, and now Bangladeshi Coke Studio is becoming very successful in Pakistan. Many landmark national songs of Pakistan were sung by Bangladeshi singers, and they are still as popular as in the past. So these things are there. This is our common heritage, and then there are new genres which are getting new appreciation, I would say, in Bangladesh, such as calligraphy. Art of calligraphy was not as popular earlier, but it has become very popular in Bangladesh. Pakistan has produced a number of calligraphers of note, including the chief calligrapher of the Prophet's Mosque in Medina Munawwara. 2 days ago, I had an exhibition at my residence in Pakistan House of all these calligraphic art that I have in my collection, and they became very popular among Bangladeshi artists. We can establish an institute over here to teach them, to teach the artists further. This art is not just calligraphy. There are other arts which are specific to our common culture. That is art of illumination, tile making. All these things. And which are a part of our common cultural heritage. So miniature paintings, for example, Lahore is a very important center of miniature painting. And we can do that, and we have offered a number of projects and programs. We have residency programs in our institutions which we would be happy to offer to Bangladesh, but all we need to do is to remove those barriers at the governmental level, because there is something that the government has to do, and there is a lot that the people side is so much covered. You would see, and I challenge people whenever they come to me and they discuss things about the impression of Pakistan among the people in Bangladesh, and I tell them to go out, ask anyone about on the street and ask anyone about Pakistan and you would see the reaction. It is full of goodwill for Pakistan. There may be some grievances also. I mean, this is because we are not interacting. If we interact more freely and frequently, those grievances will be gone. So, but generally, I mean, wherever I have gone, I have visited Chittagong and Sylhet and other areas also. I was treated with respect, and there is curiosity, of course, about Pakistan, because there is no interaction, as particularly the younger generations are concerned. They are interacting, you know, directly with the people, with their counterparts in Pakistan. In Karachi University, we have a Bengali language department also. So it has to be strengthened with the new blood, because the language survive and the new blood is coming. So all these areas are there. So we have to, we don't even have to explore, because they are there, everyone knows about them. These things can be promoted if all these artificial barriers are gone. Something, I mean, I am fully covered as far as the people side is concerned, but there is something that the governments have to do. So we are a willing partner in all these efforts.
So, Mr. High Commissioner, do you have any plan to launch a bilateral educational initiative similar to the Canada-Pakistan Research and Development Council, CPRDC, in Bangladesh?
Right. Things come back to the issue that there are artificial barriers. A number of students come to Bangladesh under SARC program to their medical institution and engineering, medical mostly. So we offer similar programs, and I will continue, you know, exploring opportunities for greater collaboration between education institutions. I will be happy to connect these universities, and not only these universities, but also research institutions, particularly agricultural research institutions.
We have seen conflicts on the Afghan-Pak border in recent months, and especially in the month of April. It seems like tensions have escalated in the border area. How the government of Pakistan is planning to deal the situation with the Taliban rulers?
You see, Pakistan and the people of Pakistan and the people of Afghanistan are very close, and there are several reasons for that: historical, common faith, language, I mean common language, ethnicities, etc. We are very close countries. Pakistani people have suffered a lot after Afghan people due to the conflict in that country, and no other country has a greater stake in peace in Afghanistan than Pakistan. We have been trying to remain engaged with the current dispensation in Afghanistan. They have given their commitment that their territory would not be used against any other country, and no terrorism would be promoted against any other country from their territory. And we believe them that they would do that. So we are cooperating and collaborating with them. There are problems which are created in the context of counter-terrorism. We consult with them, and wherever there is a need, we provide them support to eradicate those problems which are created from their territory for Pakistan. So our mechanisms of consultations and collaboration you know, on ground are quite good. There may be problems in recent past, there may be problems in future also, but there is a strong resolve to manage those problems on both sides and to address the issue of you know, terrorism jointly. This is one of the best things that is happening in our bilateral relations. As I said, there may have been problems in the past, there will be problems in the future. No bilateral relation is friction free and problem free. There will be problems, but there are mechanisms in place to address those problems and manage those problems, and we are working with the people of Afghanistan on that.
The previous leader of Pakistan, Mr. Imran Khan, used to have a soft corner for the Taliban. Will the new Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif have the same support to the Taliban?
As I said, our relationship with Afghan people is very strong. Our commitment to the Afghan people is very strong. We want peace and security in Afghanistan because it helps us. It benefits Pakistan a lot. Our current leadership, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mia Shahbaz Sharif, is also quite committed to bringing durable peace and security inside Afghanistan. And this commitment will continue. We will do whatever is possible to provide that support to them. You must appreciate, since the start of this conflict in the late 70s, Pakistan has suffered a lot. In addition to Afghan people, Pakistani people have also suffered a lot as a neighboring state. We have been hosting, like at the peak of it, 4 million Afghan refugees. Even today there are millions of Afghan refugees. and we consider them as our brothers and sisters and our guests, valued guests, and we're providing them whatever we can out of our own resources also. So this relationship and our commitment of the commitment of successive leaderships of Pakistan will remain with the Afghan people, and we will do whatever is possible to promote their interests inside their own country and at an international level also.
Islamabad recently issued a warning to Afghanistan's Taliban leadership, accusing it of giving shelter to militants. In turn, the Taliban claimed that Pakistan bombings recently killed dozens of civilians on Afghan soil. If this conflict grows, do you think that it will affect the stability of the South Asian region?
I think that we are in consultation with the current dispensation in Afghanistan, and we are discussing it with them, and the problem has been managed. They have given this commitment to the whole world that their territory would not be used for any terrorist activity in any other country. So we are hoping that they would live up to this commitment, and we are working with them to facilitate their implementation of this commitment. So I do not think that there is going to be a greater conflict between Pakistan and Afghanistan. There are mechanisms to manage them, and in addition to it, there is robust trade between two countries. There are, so many Afghan citizens who visit Pakistan, and from Pakistan people go to Afghanistan. So there is a stake of both sides in long-term peace and prosperity. That country has suffered a lot in the last 40-45 years. So it needs peace and security. Our country is the country that has suffered most after Afghanistan. So we also need permanent peace inside Afghanistan and on our borders. So we are working together with our Afghan brothers and sisters to bring permanent peace and security and manage any dispute and problem that exists between our two sides.
What's your take on Padma Praise?
The Prime Minister of Pakistan has congratulated the Prime Minister of Bangladesh for the vision that she has shown in building that, in going alone and building that bridge that is going to basically contribute to the growth of this country, 1.2% in GDP annually. This is a great achievement of Bangladesh, and we can congratulate you very sincerely on this achievement. And we are, as I said, we are admirers of whatever you have achieved in the last 50 years, and there is a lot that we can learn from you, and we can perhaps offer you in certain respects. There are new opportunities, economic opportunities, which are associated with CPEC. Bangladesh and Bangladeshi business community must explore that. Those opportunities, there are so many port promotion centers which have been established along CPEC, and if you want to export things to, which you are already doing, the pharmaceuticals to Central Asia as well as the Middle East, you can explore, establishing your investing along CPEC. It will be more cost effective. Bangladesh basically imports around $20 billion worth of goods from China for its several industries over here, the chemicals and other things. If they are sourced from Western and Central China, you can use CPEC to bring them to. That way you can avoid the Strait of Malacca and all these, the longer route, and it would CPEC would offer a shorter route. But these are the ideas, the raw ideas. There is a think tank that is in Pakistan, Pakistan Business Council, that is functioning, that is working on basically on analyzing and discussing with the stakeholders various aspects of FTA, Free Trade Agreement. And they have produced a very good paper on that. On the basis of that paper, Atlantic Council in the US has produced its own paper on FTA between Pakistan and Bangladesh. So the think tank in Bangladesh and that think tank can work together to produce a good report on the opportunities along CPEC, and how Bangladeshis can benefit from those opportunities. Bangladesh is currently importing cotton also from Central Asia for its RMG. So Pakistan can offer a route for that. So there are several new things. The world has changed, and the younger generation, if you talk to the younger businessmen, they have new ideas, very good ideas to connect our two peoples and two economies and two countries. So let's explore those ideas.
So, Mr. High Commissioner, we are almost at the end of the program, and where do you see Bangladesh-Pakistan relations in the next 10 years?
Well, I am quite hopeful. For the last 10 years, we have not been able to do something that we should have done. But in the next 10 years, I am hopeful that the commitment is there on both sides, both at official and non-official level, to move forward. And the progress at this stage is quite slow, but I am hoping that this progress will achieve some momentum, and very soon, inshallah, and there will be frequent exchanges between our leaderships, That will give confidence to different groups in both countries, the business groups, the groups of artists, the culture. I mean, you just mentioned the cultural exchanges, the people who are involved in culture. And you know, all these areas will have renewed confidence in connecting without seeking the approval of our respective governments. And this will be the time when we would be able to say with confidence, yes, our people are fully connected. And then they are contributing their to our official debates also as to how should we move. Right now we are imposing our version on them. So let them connect and discuss things, you know, freely and give their feedback to this relationship. And I am quite confident after having discussed this thing with people in this country and in our country also. Their feedback is going to be very positive because they see opportunities. They see potential, unrealized potential that they want to tap. So let's facilitate that, and the sky is the limit.
Thank you, Mr. High Commissioner Imran Ahmed Siddiqui. Thanks for your time, and the discussion was fascinating indeed.